we'll need to put in both, I think.
How are we doing? So if you guys remember, we had finished chapter 11 before break, and we had worked on. We had started the study guides, right? What I want to do today is I want to work on the Chapter 11 Mastery Part 1. And I want to do this together because I think that it's been a little bit. It would be good to kind of work this through. This Mastery Part 1 is similar to the type of problem you'll be asked to do, the type of accounting problem you'll be asked to do on the test next. So I think it'll be pretty good overall practice to kind of do this together and kind of talk through things and all that jazz. You guys cool with that plan? Okay. I know that it's been a minute since we've done any accounting, so I think it'll be a good. Yeah, so this is accounting 11M.1. So this is the same problem as M.1 that you'll do in Cengage. I'm giving you the paper copy because this is how you have to do it on the test. We're going to do this together. You can either follow along on your own sheet to practice writing things in, or you can do it directly into the Cengage, or you can do it on the sheet and then transfer it over later, whatever is best for you. Everybody cool with the plan? I have the list of transactions up here on the board. Can probably make that just a little bit bigger. Okay. So the directions here say journalize the following transactions. So if I read through these, granted credit to DJ's Cafe for damaged merchandise, yada, yada, yada. Okay, that should be recorded. Bought store supplies on account from yada, yada, yada. That should be recorded. Learned that a sale on account to blah, blah, blah was incorrect. Okay, so that's a correction. That'll be recorded in the general. Return merchandise, yep, in the general. Board of directors declared a dividend. Yep, that goes in the general. Granted credit to so-and-so, that goes in the general. Returned merchandise, that goes in general. Paid cash for dividend, though, does not. So that one will not, but everything else is going to go. So let's start recording. So December 2nd says we granted credit to DJ's Cafe for damaged merchandise for $49 plus sales tax from some previous sale, total of $52.92, CM 68. So remember, this is the situation, or in this chapter, we have the situation where like we have more than one thing happens under the same date, right? So we have three things going on for this first transaction. So what are the three things or the three accounts that are going to be affected by this transaction?
Sales tax payable,
Sales tax payable, for sure.
the accounts payable for JD Cafe.
Accounts receivable, yep, for JD's Cafe, that's good. So that'll be the second and third things. So sales tax payable will be in the second line. Accounts receivable for JD's Cafe will be in the third line. The first line, though, is going to be the sales return and allowances, right? Because we're issuing some store credit. And it's not a return, but it is from damaged merchandise. Okay. So the first line, sales returns and allowances. The second line, sales tax payable. Third line, accounts receivable, JD's Cafe. And the accounts receivable should actually be indented because that's a credit as opposed to debits. So the first two are debits. And that accounts receivable is going to be a credit. Because now he means that JD owes us less, right? So we're crediting his account. So for sales returns and allowances, that's a debit of $49. The sales tax payable, that's a debit of $3.92. And then accounts receivable, that's a credit of $52.92. And I think we forgot to put on the, to fill in the page number. This says it's page 12, right? So we should do that there. So that's the first transaction into the general ledger. The post reference is blank for now because we haven't transferred this information into the other subledgers, right? Everybody's okay?
So for the number,
just the first one.
Okay, just the first.
Yeah, just the first one, CM68. The other two can be blank because they're under the same transaction. It's not wrong to write it again and again, but it's unnecessary. Just like we don't have to write the date for all three of these. We just write one date and nest these three things under the same date. We do the same thing with documents. Everybody okay? Okay, December 3rd then, so that'll be the next transaction, says bought store supplies on account from Kessler Supply for $231, memorandum 335. How many accounts are being affected by this? 2. What are the 2 accounts? Accounts payable to Kessler is for sure one, and the other is supplies. Okay? Now, I think if we look at the list of accounts for this, we have 2 different types of supplies accounts. This is supplies-store. That'll be a debit because we're bringing in supplies. So that'll be the first line. And then underneath that, indented, because it's the credit, will be the accounts payable for Kessler. So our document number was M335. And then the supplies get a debit 231. And the accounts payable gets the credit 231. That finishes that transaction, at least as far as the general journal is concerned, right? We're going to fill out the entire general journal, and then we'll work on transferring those to the other places. But I'm going to do the whole list of transactions first. Next up says December 6th, so that'll be the next date. Learn that a sale on account to Rib Shack was incorrectly charged to the account of Restaurant DeVille for $750 or $54, memorandum 336. How many accounts are interacting here? 2. Very good. Those would be Rib Shack and Restaurant DeVille, right? It's not accounts receivable or accounts payable because it's not their debt. It's the actual, we just billed the wrong people, right? So who's getting the debit? Because that's the one that goes first. Is it Rib Shack or Restaurant DeVille? Rib Shack is the debit. That goes first. Very good. And then nested underneath that then will be the credit. That's Restaurant DeVille. And our document was M336. The debit is $754 for ribs. This is making me hungry, guys. And the Restaurant DeVille is the credit for $754. That finishes that transaction. Now we're on to the 12th. It says returned merchandise to Great Lakes Produce for $256. So that means we bought some stuff from Great Lakes Produce and we took it back because we didn't like it or whatever. How many accounts are being interacted here? 2. What are the 2 accounts? So purchases and returns. It's purchases though, because we're buying, not selling, right? So it's purchases, returns, and allowances. And the other one would be our accounts payable to Great Lakes Produce. Which one is the debit?
Returns.
It's the accounts payable because we now owe them less, right? There's a debit into that account. So that's our first line, accounts payable. And then our credit is our second line. That's purchases and returns allowances. Our document was DM93. So we have a credit in the accounts payable of $256. I'm sorry, debit in the accounts payable $256, and a credit in the purchases, returns, and allowances of $256. On to 15, or the 15th. Is everybody so far so good? Okay, I'll post in a picture here in a second of what the completed thing would have looked. Well, we'll do it maybe all at the end, right? It's probably be easier. Bless you, bless you, bless you. It says 15, the board of directors declared a dividend of $34 or 34 cents per share from 8,600 shares, memorandum 337. How many accounts are affected by this? 2. They would be dividends and dividends payable is correct. Which one is the debit? Yes, because the dividends payable will be the money coming out. That'll be going to the stockholders. That's the credit. So dividends is first, and then dividends payable is nested underneath it. And it says our document here is M337. What's the amount of the debit and credit here going to be? Yeah, it's going to be that 0.34 times 8,600. So 34 cents per share for 8,600 shares is 2,924. All right, 23, or the 23rd, I should say. It says granted credit to Connie's Bakery for merchandise returned. So they bought something from us and then returned it for $189 plus sales tax of $15.12 for a total of $204.12. How many accounts are being interacted here? Should be 3. It's going to be just like that first transaction, but instead of damages, it's returns, but they all go to the same places, right? So we'll have sales returns and allowances, damages and returns go in the same spot, sales tax payable, and then accounts receivable for Connie's Bakery. So it's going to look just like that first transaction we did. And our document there was, what is it? CM69. Yes. All right, let's see. The return was a debit, 189. The sales tax was a debit, 1512. And the accounts receivable was credited then for the total 204.12. And now the last transaction we have to worry about is the 28th. It says returned merchandise to Century Foods, $358. DM 94. So that's us returning something, right? Everybody agree?
Yeah.
Okay, so what accounts are going to be interacting here? Our accounts payable to Century Foods, correct? And the other would be purchases, returns, and allowances. Very good. So this one is going to look just like the transaction on the 12th, right? Okay. So that was, we just did step 1, which was to journalize the following transactions during December of the current year. We used page 12 of the general journal, we wrote 12 up in the corner, to journalize, and then it says journalize the January transaction on page 16 of a cash payments journal. Okay, so let's do that. We haven't done that yet. So in the cash payments journal there at the bottom, that's page 16. And then our date here is January 15. You should use the complete row. Notice there's one row with the break in it, because there could have been some other stuff in January that might not have been recorded. But we just have the one transaction that we know about. Okay, this is the account title that this cash payment is coming from. Where's this cash payment originating? It says paid cash for dividend declared on December 15th. It's coming out of the dividends payable account. And then the check number, it says, is C881. And that'll be a debit to that journal, or to the dividends payable, which offsets the credit that was there that we put there earlier, right? And then cash is credited because that cash is now leaving our accounts, right? Okay, going back and reading number 1 here. So we did the January in the cash payments journal. Source documents, okay, they told us that, great. We did all those. All right, then it says step 2, post each general ledger entry to the appropriate subsidiary ledger and the general ledger. Okay, so first things we have are, if I go back up to December 2nd, our first account title is sales returns and allowances. So I'm going to look through this for sales returns and allowances. And I see that on page 298. You guys see that? That account is numbered 4,130. So that'll be my post reference on my general journal, 4,130. And we are going to record a debit of, we have the date of December 2nd, and we're going to record a debit of $49. And then when we update, we're going to be at 8,466 and 10 cents. And our post reference on our sales returns and allowance journal should be G for the general journal, and then a 12 because we're on page 12. Okay. Our next entry in our sales tax payable is going to be, or the next entry is sales tax payable, right? So let's go and find that one. Sales tax payable is on page 297. The account number is 2,120, so that'll be my post reference in the general journal. We have a debit of, on December 2nd, a debit of $3.92. And then when I update that, that'll be 8908. If I think I did my mental math right, somebody should probably check me on these. Oh, I should be minusing. Thank you. Woo! Great question. Why am I minusing? Yeah, because it's a debit with the credit, right? Which should make sense, because if somebody returns something and I had to give them their sales tax they paid back, I'll have collected less sales tax in total then, right? Because I've given some of it back, which should make sense that the sales tax collected, that number is going down now, which is the total in that account. All right. The next one, we have the accounts receivable and JD's Cafe, right? So the accounts receivable is how much total we have coming in, or that people owe us. That is account 1130. And JD's Cafe is account 160. So I'm going to split that and use two post references in that same box. So 1130 for accounts receivable, and then 160 for JD's Cafe. I'm going to record that same 5292 credit in both places. I'm going to record the post reference as journal G12. 5292. Yeah. And then update these, and I've gotten sick of trying to do mental math. So 1509 will be the new, 0908 will be the new one for JD's. If I turn the page to accounts receivable, again, post reference G12. Here we credit 5292 again. And when I update here, 16,482.15 minus 5292, that's going to be 16,429.23. $16,429.23. Is that right? Okay. All right, our next one is supply store. So let's go and find that. Bless you. I found that on page 297. So on the third, General Journal G12, I have a debit of $231, which updates then to, I'm going to use the calculator. To $3,280.24. Okay, and then the next, on the third, I have the accounts payable and Kessler's. So accounts payable is account 2110, and Kessler is account 280. So again, I have to split those. So both of them get that same $231 credit. I'm beginning to regret putting these things double-sided. You know, guys? Okay. Everybody okay with the third transactions? Okay. For the sixth, we have to send, we have Rib Shack and Restaurant DeVille. If I find those, they're on page 296. Those are accounts 180 and 190 respectively. So 190 for Rib Shack, 180 for Restaurant DeVille. So on the 6th, DeVille got a credit of $754. And Rib Shack got a debit of $754. So would update those. So 216.36 for DeVille. And $1,328.05 for ribs. Okay. For the 12th, we have accounts payable and Great Lakes Produce, so those each get their own. Accounts payable, I remember we used already, that was 2110. And then Great Lakes Produce is 260. Both of those get a debit of 256. So Great Lakes Produce updates to 2,928.26. And then the accounts payable is way back here. Yes. Yes. So accounts payable updates to $18,406.18. Then we need purchases, returns, and allowances. That was, I remember, is account 4,130. That also gets a credit of 256. That updated to $8,210.10. Oh my goodness. I just put that, I'm so dumb. I put that in the sales returns and not purchases returns. Ah! It's like, that doesn't, what's going on here? There we go. This is what I get for double siding everything. It's too hard to keep track of it. There we go. That's better. All right, so purchases, returns. Now the total should be $4,445.94. And now we're on to the 15th, which is nice because it's just two things that are happening. So if I go and I look it up, dividends is the account 3,130, and dividends payable 2,180. So on the 15th for each of these. Notice on dividends payable, I have to put in December, because that's not in there yet. All right, so what do we got? We have a credit of 2,924 on the payable. And then we got a debit in the dividends of the same amount. And then I have to update that new one. So 11,696. Okay. Then on to the 23rd, sales returns and allowances is account 4,130. And in that account, we're going to place a debit of $189. Bringing my new total to $8,655.10 in that account. And we have sales tax payable. That was account 2,120. In that account, we have to put in a, where did that go? $15.12. So now we're at 875.13 in that account. Yes, sir. For sales tax, no, we're putting debits in and there's a credit total, so I should be subtracting.
December 2nd for sales tax payable.
That should be subtracted. Yeah, because they're opposite charges, right? One's a debit, the other is a credit, so we should be subtracting. Good question. And then on the 23rd, we have two transactions. We have accounts receivable and Connie's Bakery. Accounts receivable is 1,130, and Connie's Bakery was account 120. And both of those got a, where'd you go? A credit of $204.12. So Connie's now has a balance of $385.03. And accounts receivable also got credited a $204.12. Yes. and now has a balance of $16,225.11. Almost done here, guys. Only two more lines to go. Yes. On the 28th, we have accounts payable, and that was account number 2,210. And then Century Food, which is account 220. Both of them get a debit of $358. So Century Foods' new balance should be $1,590.25. And the accounts payable also gets that same debit. Accounts payable is here, the 28th. It's another debit. And 18,406, 18 minus 358. So now the new balance in accounts payable should be $18,048.18. And then our final piece, purchases and returns allowances. That is account 5130. So that's a credit now of $358. So we're adding this time. And then the last piece says post the January 15th transaction in the general debit column of the cash payments journal. I think we did that already. Cash payments journal. So we did that January 15th transaction already. Oh, we didn't post it though. Okay, sorry. So we have that, right? Dividends payable is going to go to dividends payable. So if I look at the cash payments journal, the January 5th transaction needs also to be recorded in the dividends payable. So January 15th. And now I'm seeing why there is no month already pre-written into that ledger. That ledger is 2,180. And in that we have we had the journal, the post reference is CP 16, CP for cash payments, and then page 16. And there we're debiting the $2,924, bringing our grand total to 0. So you can write a 0 or you can just draw a line through it. That's good. And I think that finishes us out. So let's do this real quick. So if you went and wanted to look through, like this should be your first journal, should look like this if everything's all filled in. And the next journal with everything filled in would be like this guy. Yes, go ahead, James. And then if I look at the next page, we should have this stuff. Oops, that's what I meant to do. And if I look at the page after that, you should have that. And then for our general ledger, we should have that. And then our last page we should have this stuff. Assuming the dividends got paid out, because we had that extra transaction in January where we paid out the dividends money that we collected, then it goes to 0. Yeah, good questions. Hopefully you guys feel a little bit refreshed in terms of like what we're doing and how we're doing things and like where things go and how you know where they go and all that. Again, the hardest part is getting that general journal set. Once you've got that, posting those things to the ledger should be relatively easy. It's that reading those transactions and making sure you have everything that's interacting in that transaction represented there is the important piece. Miss Tommy Bucci?
Yeah.
He's in the back.
There it is. Boys side of the room over here.
Yes, sir.
Well, there's just 3 girls.
Why do you not have on, school clothes?
Alright,
You're supposed to have that on.
I'll put it on.
If it's too warm, then you're supposed to wear a school pull-up. You have not shown up to any of these, so you're gonna have to start serving lunch ones to make that up, and it takes 3 lunches to make up the morning detention. You gotta get these taken care of. But by the way, seniors, this will go out in an email to let you know, but if you have not served your detentions, paid your library fines, lunchroom fines, turned in all your textbooks, you don't get a cap and gown at graduation practice day. And
So
all of
there's
those
like
things
23. So how do we
are
know?
taken care of.
How do we know if we have detentions?
You're not getting detention slips
you
from
gave
me
me a
or
slip?
emails from
Okay.
me, then you're good.
You gave me a slip like 3 months ago. I never went to the detention, and I haven't heard from you. How would you tell me? I just
Well,
don't
then
want it
that's
to be
on
an issue.
me if I messed that up.
Okay.
then that's on
I just don't want it to be an issue later on.
It wasn't an issue.
So Thursdays.
So, Thursday morning,
Bro, it was
and
last semester
Saturday,
though,
right?
Shava.
What?
It was
We
last
already
semester.
discussed that, but you're not coming this Saturday, you're gonna come the 12th or 13th of May, once I get that figured out with Ms. Anderson.
Because when
Okay.
it comes down to it, I
Thank
have
you.
to deal with it. And it's like,
You wouldn't have to deal with it. She didn't even know what you were talking about. Huh?
she's not gonna give me one for honesty. She's not gonna give me one for being incendiary.
I think I think they're gonna let you get away with just the 12 there.
Should we on the test? Should we put info?
I wouldn't be that stingy about it, to be honest with you. But I like doing it this way because it helps,
Yeah.
like, show you where this number is coming from or where that information came from. Since we had multiple journals going on at one time there.
What if it was too big to fit?
Well,
Actually, what if you said it's